We have multiple Canucks updates, with one report revealing shocking details not only for the team's top prospect, but also for an upcoming UFA whose future with the team is even murkier as the Canucks look to make off-season moves happen quickly. We're going to be breaking down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest. First, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all things Canucks as we head into the thick of the off-season coming up. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is shocking prospect update. So on Halford and Bro today, Rick Dhaliwal was a special guest. And Canucks Summary, if you guys haven't checked him out on Twitter, go check him out. He does great summaries of everything Canucks on every single talk show. So go check him out. We'll put the link in the description. But he was speaking on a few things, and two things we're going to highlight here. One of them being Jonathan Lekkerimäki, saying that Jim Rutherford and Patrik Allvin have been in attendance for the Abbotsford playoff games. Rutherford did not attend Game 2, however. Some have said that he was invisible in Game 1. The Canucks will be looking for 3 top 6 forwards this summer, and everyone should be on the table in trades. And Lekkerimäki also has 0 points in 7 games. Now, right off the bat, Lekkerimäki being thrown into that conversation with the trades is something that just comes out of nowhere, because obviously he is our top prospect. If you guys have been watching the channel long enough, you know that this is Mark's favorite prospect. He's very high on him and for the future that he has with the Vancouver Canucks. One thing that we did also drop earlier today was the possibility of Vancouver going out and getting Dylan Larkin. Now, for that is a definitely top 6 forward, which is what the Canucks are looking for. And as far as free agency is concerned, there isn't a lot out there as far as top 6 forwards or potential top 6 forwards that are within what the Canucks are looking for as far as the fit for their scheme and as far as what they're looking for in age and in contract money or term. So there's a lot of different options here for the Canucks as far as the trade value goes, rather than looking at free agency. And I think that's what they're looking at here with Patrik Allvin and Jim Rutherford being at these Abbotsford playoff games. It not only goes to see who's really shining, but also who has valuable trade assets and who is not really performing up to snuff in the bigger games. That's the big thing I'm looking at with Lekkerimäki here, is that in the playoffs hasn't really stood out very much and has been practically invisible. So with that, maybe it goes to show that, hey, maybe he's not ready for the bigger games. He did adapt pretty well to the NHL and seemingly will be a permanent starter with the Vancouver Canucks within a year and a half or within the next season or so, according to what we saw on the ice. That's if he is still on this roster, of course, and isn't traded. But with the Canucks considering that everyone should be on the table, or according to Rick Dhaliwal that is a huge thing, because of a lot of guys being floated out there as potential trade bait, with Lekkerimäki being at the top of it. I know when we were talking about Dylan Larkin that we were saying that a defenseman like D. Petey or Tom Willander and some draft picks might be able to make that deal happen. But if the Red Wings are wanting a top guy or one of our top prospects, Lekkerimäki and maybe one pick might be enough to seal the deal, rather than having to give away D. Petey or Tom Willander and a handful of picks for Dylan Larkin. So maybe they might have a smaller chance, like a smaller trade to put on the table there as far as what the Canucks would be giving up to get Dylan Larkin. But what you're giving up is potentially one of your future franchise stars and a future top 6 forward. But that's the thing, is they want a current top 6 forward. They don't want a future one. So if they're willing to compromise their entire future for that could be a little bit reckless. In our last video, there was a lot of divided comments as far as wanting to get Dylan Larkin, but also not wanting to give up our entire future for him, despite him having a lengthy contract. But he is getting up there in age, not too old by any standards really, at 28, so still has a lot of good hockey left in him. But there is that age curve that tends to happen at the 28 to 30 mark that a lot of forwards can't seem to get past, or some do in the rare cases, but it's very, very rare that they can do that. So that's going to be a big thing for the Canucks to look at too, is you're looking at Dylan Larkin, where I know you're in a win a cup now mode and try and keep Quinn Hughes happy so he doesn't go and play with his brothers, or you're not forced to try and bring his brothers over to Vancouver, which is an insane possibility that we have been talking about and has been gaining traction on social media as well, amongst many other outlets as well. But with that, if you're willing to compromise Jonathan Lekkerimäki and letting him go to a team and being a franchise star for another team in order to keep Quinn Hughes happy, that's a big conversation to have. And if I know it's Quinn Hughes, he is the future of this franchise, absolutely, and so is Jonathan Lekkerimäki if Quinn Hughes does leave, or when Quinn Hughes is ready to pass the torch off. However, that's still a long ways away, and you still got to make Quinn Hughes happy while he's in the prime of his career and is only getting better and better with age and a contract expiry coming up. So they're going to have to do everything in their power to make him happy. And I know trading draft picks isn't necessarily the way to do that, or trading top prospects, but if you're bringing in a top 6 guy, a guy that's from Michigan like he is, a guy that's played with Filip Hronek like Dylan Larkin has, that is something that is going to be very appealing for the Canucks, especially when they're looking for a top 6 forward and there's not a lot out there. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think that there's a chance that Jonathan Lekkerimäki gets traded this offseason for a top 6 forward and maybe some draft picks? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is Forbort's free agency. So Dhaliwal went into what's going on with Derek Forbort right now, saying that he had surgery to repair a broken orbital bone, thanks to Yakov Trenin. Thanks for that, loser. And he is doing well. The Canucks like Forbort a lot and want to keep him. The talks have taken place and they would like to bring him back, but there were interest from teams at the trade deadline. So with this, I think this is a very, very interesting situation. And this is one where a lot of people are talking about the free agents. Then Dhaliwal was talking about Pius Suter, Brock Boeser, and some other ones. But Derek Forbort is a very intriguing one for me. And for two very big reasons. One, you do go out and sign him because he was a really good fit with this team. He had a lot of struggles. There was some injuries. There were some personal things that happened. So it was a very catastrophic season for the Canucks and for Derek Forbort, especially with going through the injuries to start the year, the personal tragedy in the middle of the year, and then the injury to end the year that ended in surgery and ended his season entirely with not many games left, but still was a season-ending injury. On the other side of that, too, he's been great on the penalty kill. Hasn't put up a lot of points, but he's great on the penalty kill when we're shorthanded. So that's a big plus, too. The other thing I'm looking at is that if you're looking there, that last point there, teams were interested at the trade deadline. So what Vancouver is almost needing to do in this situation, in my opinion, is you look at this as, okay, if we don't sign Derek Forbort, we lose him for nothing. But if we sign him, there's a possibility that teams will still be interested by the trade deadline. So if you go out and sign Derek Forbort, yeah, you're going to be paying a little bit for him up front or by the end of the year, or another team could take that on. But if you sign him, you're ensuring that he's there at least until the trade deadline. So what you can do is you sign him, keep him until the trade deadline. If there's teams interested in giving you a good offer, you get rid of him and you get back what you want and you get a better return out of it. And you at least get something for him rather than letting him walk in free agency. That's why I think Derek Forbort, or you can say this for really any UFA really that the Canucks have, or just in general with sports, where if you have a guy that teams were interested before at the trade deadline, you go out and sign him because teams are likely still going to be interested, especially if some of those teams don't go and get the guy that they want in free agency, or those teams are thinking, hey, we were calling about Derek Forbort before the trade deadline. He's going to be a UFA. We can go out and get him and not have to lose anything for it. That's where the Canucks have to come in and outbid them and give Derek Forbort a better offer so that when the trade deadline comes back around, those same teams that tried to get him for without giving up anything except for financial, now you can go back to those teams and say, hey, you wanted him. You wanted him at the trade deadline. You wanted him in free agency. Come and try and get him again, but now give us something for him so we're not losing him for nothing like you guys tried to do in free agency before July 1st. So that is really the scenario that I'm looking at as far as why Derek Forbort is one of the most appealing free agency stories in the Canucks UFAs that pool that we have coming up by July 1st. So I think that's something that we definitely have to be on the lookout for, where if the Canucks do go out and sign Derek Forbort, I know a lot of people will say, oh, give that money to Brock Boeser, or give that money somewhere else for more money for Suter or here and there, especially if they're not planning on keeping him. But the big thing to remember is if they go out and do this, now you ensure you're not losing him for nothing. You keep him around. He's great on the penalty kill. He's really good in this system. The team really loves him. The management and organization, the coaches like him. So you keep him around, keep that morale a bit there for a little bit, see if teams are still interested by the trade deadline. If they're not, well, at least you still have Derek Forbort. Maybe you're overpaying a little bit for him, but you still have a reliable penalty killer on your team who still can contribute in points when he needs to or when he has his full legs underneath him. But there is also the possibility where you go out and you sign him. Now we have a chance to actually get something for him by the trade deadline. And that's the case for any of them. Maybe they do that with Brock Boeser, where they offer him a lucrative deal that if within reason for other teams to pay for, that by the next trade deadline, other teams can say, hey, we'll be willing to offer you this, this, and this for it. We just want Boeser, and the Canucks can actually get something for Boeser rather than letting him walk. You can also apply this to Pius Suter. You can apply this to any of the Vancouver Canucks UFAs, but I think that is an interesting interesting strategy to use, even though it's not exactly the most ethical way of doing things, and it doesn't instill a lot of distrust in that player. However, from a business move, that would be what makes sense as far as ensuring that you don't lose a really solid UFA for nothing when you can sign him, trade him at the trade deadline, and get something for him by that point. But what do you guys think in the comments down below? Do you think that's what will happen with Derek Forbort here? Or do you think if the Canucks extend him, they will decide to keep him around past the trade deadline and into the next few years of that contract? Let us know what you guys have to say down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys have to say about all the things going on from what Rick Dhaliwal was saying on Halford and Bro. We're going to have videos on that coming up soon. I know there was stuff on Tocchet, there was stuff on Willander, there was stuff on Boeser, there was stuff on Suter. So stay tuned for that. You guys aren't going to want to miss it. Hit that bell icon so you can stay notified, as well as the subscribe button so you can continue to stay up to date. But with that, I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.